saw the most significant improvement. But the great thing is that they continued to improve after the study concluded.
Right, yeah. Terrific, yes. Or at least maintained, yeah. Excellent. So, it's not super dramatic, but there was some catch-up. The lower performing's a little closer to the high than they were at the beginning. And the one thing you can say, the high group, they ceilinged out. I mean, they're as good as they're going to get. And they kind of are pretty flat. So it looks like the program did benefit more the lower performing students. This is speed, and you measure speed by the number of seconds that it takes to write the lowercase alphabet. And so you want it to go down. Does anyone want to tell this story? She did a great. You set the standard too high. Now they're intimidated. Happens every time. Well, it's a similar story. All you need to say is it's a similar story.
It's a similar story.
Very good. And you can see huge. These are, if you look at the numbers on the side, they really improved tremendously in speed, which makes sense. They're trying to figure it out at the beginning of the year, and then they get it. And this really reflects automaticity in writing, period. But once they get down to where they were after the program, it doesn't change much beyond that. And then this is fluency. And so this is how many sentences they were able to write. And I think this is a little bit different story. So, do all the groups look the same, like they've been? Okay. So, who do you think, if you look at this graph, who might you think benefited maybe the most, or certainly seemed to? Well, it's a little, I'm not sure this is true, but it looks like the at-risk kids really did benefit and at least maintained a pace with the upper performing group. And that's what you'd hope with a developmental trajectory, is that, well, what happens with our kids though? No, they get on a different developmental trajectory. So over time there's more of a gap. So the fact that there wasn't more of a gap is a good story. And then the lower performing looks like they could have used more support even after the program. Even though actually they make kind of a little bit better rate, but the gap isn't really getting better. So that might be a group of kids that need ongoing support. What happened, I guess I didn't explain this, is after Right Start ended, it ended. There wasn't any more handwriting and writing support other than the teacher continued to work on writing. But the OT wasn't in the classroom. And then for writing samples, this was a little bit different. A test that didn't tell us much because a lot of the kids were performing pretty well on it, and it ceilinged out. I won't go through the last few slides, but basically just that it was a very positive process for the team, and the teachers felt they really learned from us, and we felt like we really learned from them. We learned a lot about being in front of a classroom and things you have to say to maintain good behavior and discipline things. We learned a lot about the writing curriculum. They were very gracious. I'm grateful about what they learned about handwriting instructions. And I think compared to your program where it's a little bit more you're in a leadership role, we had the time to do that meeting and develop more of a full partnership with the teachers, so that I don't know that they're still doing it. Our project ended this year, and I think it's a really good question that you've raised is, will it continue, and will the teachers be able to provide this kind of input to their kids and this type of intervention with the OT not present, or moving more into a consulting role. Terry still was the OT for the classroom, but she moved into more consulting on handwriting. Very fun. I would love to have some discussion Dr. Chiska indicated that there was some time. You're not allowed to leave quite yet. Mandatory discussion. Oh my God.
This came up briefly yesterday before we got a chance to meet with you, but we were wondering if you developed the program with the other OTs as well, and I guess if you did or didn't, is it available to use like the Handwriting Without Tears program? We have like the books and the curriculum that's already pre-designed, so is that sort of information available on the Right Start program?
Yeah. Not really. But what we have, and I don't really intend to publish this because what happened to it? But that was a hyperlink. Is it there? Oh, do you think I'm on the internet? All right, we have a website. I really would love it if you would go there. Let me see it. It's called Right Start Handwriting. What did that? Oh, wait. I'm going to screw it up. Am I on the internet? I thought Kate had invited me to the internet. It says not connected. See, that is why we have to get all of our technology help from students. How do I get... Oh, thinking. I love our website. It's not as easy to navigate as Handwriting Without Tears curriculum. The one thing I can tell you if you want to do this, or if you have an opportunity to do it, we weren't about... Handwriting Without Tears could actually be embedded in the model. Because really what this was a model. This was looking at how we can deliver services in a different way that might be more effective. And handwriting instruction just happened to be the skill we were focused on. So I think Handwriting Without Tears is good. And we were stealing. It wasn't stealing. We were using lots of the words they use, the sequence they use, continuous letters. It wasn't really new stuff. It was just how we did it in a way that really promoted learning and captured those at-risk kids. So I think you could take the model and maybe use Handwriting Without Tears and link it a little bit more to the writing instruction, which literally, when I say that, I mean it's because the kids were doing both, and they were doing them together, and the teachers saw the relevance of handwriting when they were writing, and we tried to emphasize more words and some composing as we taught handwriting. But really good question, and I may be able to pull up the website. And if anyone has technology suggestions on how to pull up the website, I'm welcome.
I have a question based on what you just said, kind of. So we're working with 5-year-old students, and so I think that one thing about the Right Start program that's really cool is obviously that literacy component in the writing application of it, because we've noticed that, our students with the Handwriting Without Tears, it doesn't necessarily have that so much. But what I'm curious about is how would you implement that with 5-year-olds who aren't really at the stage of writing full words and that so much? Because I'm not seeing the carryover sometimes. Like they'll be forming their letters super well, but then once they go and write their names, it's like they're not doing the form anymore. I'm like, oh no, we just practiced that A and you were doing it so well, and now when you write it in your name, you're not doing it anymore. So how would you help implement that with children that aren't at the stage of writing?
Well, I think you were doing some of that. Well, one thing is writing their name is something you absolutely should emphasize and reinforce. But I think the idea that a letter has a sound and A goes with apple, and so not expecting them to write apple, because I don't know that they can, but they know the meaning of A. A is the beginning of apple. It's the beginning of eat, whatever. I don't know. I'm not very good at this stuff. And recognizing that the letter they're forming is in their book. So, having maybe just reading a very simple alphabet book or another kind of book where you're going to point to examples of that letter. And, there is a little bit of problem with A, because A doesn't always look like in print, it doesn't always look like how the children write it. So you'd have to make sure you pick the right source so that the letter that they're seeing in the book with the word is what they're practicing. So it's more just making, I would say, the phonetic connection of the sound, and then the idea that it is print, there is a word, and it does link to literacy. So, and it might be nice if there's a story time or something, and you're working on A, and the teacher can, during the story, talk about the A's in the story, or where that is in the story. So you're right. You have to really look at the curriculum of what is expected in terms of literacy. I mean, writing is literacy. The two should be very much linked. And storytelling, and then what they should be learning about that letter in addition to how to form it. It's just, there should be an endpoint to just the literal motor forming of the letter into what letters mean. Oh, do you guys want to see our website? This is my school, Ohio State. And I am not, I think I'm going to link out. It might be safer. Oops. All right. Did you do this, or it just happened?
It just happened. I couldn't get your mouse to work.
This little thing, toggle thing?
Yeah.
It's very hard to work. Okay. Do you have another question? Those are good. Andrea, do you have a question? Do you wonder about Ohio State and what's happening?
Dr. K. Smith, I have a question. Just kind of wondering, in the past I've cared for children who have come home from school with handwriting programs that their teachers wanted them to work on at home. And so I'm just wondering if you advised these kids or their parents on home programs to sort of continue what they were doing in the classroom, outside of the classroom, and then in your research, if you potentially factored any of that into how that might impact your results.
Wow, that is a fabulous question. No, we did not have a home component to the program. And I don't know why we decided to do that. I'm afraid to say I don't even know that we thought about it. One thing is, actually, Joey, I probably shouldn't be using his real name, who had Down syndrome, there was some transfer of what we were doing in the classroom to home. Typical kids, I'm not sure in first grade how much parents do reinforce what they're doing in school. What I was going to say is, in the school systems around Columbus, Ohio, there's very little communication with home and parents. And I was always surprised at that. And I think it's a problem, but I don't see anyone really making efforts. And I think the main reason is the OTs have 40, 50, 60 kids on their caseload, and they're scrambling all the time, and their priority is communication with the teacher, because they see their role of what happens at school and what happens in the classroom. How's this child progressing in academic skills? So the communication with parents is usually almost random or after hours by email, often more parent initiated than